So I'm going to start off 1 minute late, or a wee bit late, by introducing Heather Jones. Heather Jones is the CEO at the Scottish Aquaculture Innovation Centre. And she's going to give us an overview of SAIC and the mission to transform the Scottish aquaculture through industry-led collaborative research. Over to you, Heather.
Thanks very much, Fraser. Welcome, everybody. I'm sorry I can't be with you physically in Fort William, but I'm delighted that I can be with you virtually. So, as Fraser said, I'm the CEO of the Scottish Aquaculture Innovation Centre, also known as SAIC. And we're delighted to have helped to bring this webinar about. And as some of you may know already, our whole purpose is to unlock growth in Scottish aquaculture, which is a really important sector for the North West Highlands and indeed for Scotland and the UK as a whole. And our purpose is to drive, share and nurture innovation with Lochaber companies and with people like you. We help businesses and academics to collaborate, and we do that by funding commercially relevant research. We also seek to develop new talent to enter the industry. So if you're interested in hiring or in getting a job in the sector, we can help you. Everything that we do is directed by industry. If industry doesn't need it, want it, or value it, then we don't do it. And I just want to make clear that we work with companies large and small, right down to micro businesses. And we work with businesses, many businesses in Lochaber, but also companies across Scotland, in the rest of the UK, and indeed companies around the world. So I've got a call later on today with a Silicon Valley artificial intelligence company that wants to help make the Scottish aquaculture industry successful. So as an organisation, we've got a local focus and we've got a global focus. SAIC shares innovation by facilitating knowledge exchange, this kind of thing, networks and events, getting people talking to each other. And as well as going to large industry exhibitions in the days when we still could, we're also seeking to build up connections between supply chain companies and to have niche and topic specific conferences. So we've been talking to businesses in the Northeast who deal with underwater expertise that might be applicable and transferable to aquaculture. We're also really active on social media. We've got a very informative website, a monthly newsletter, and we do lots and lots of stuff on Twitter and Facebook and elsewhere. So my invitation to anybody who's listening today is please connect with us and we can help you collaborate with others in the supply chain, with Scottish academic expertise and with potential new recruits in your business. You can meet up with some of my colleagues who are here today, or just call, email or contact us via social media and we'd be delighted to help. So we've got a great team and I'm just about to hand over to Sarah Riddle, who is our Director of Business Engagement. I'm sure again many of you will know her. She lives and works in Fort William. And Sarah, like the rest of us, is committed to helping companies in Lochaber and in Scotland to survive and thrive this 2020 year like no other. And if we can help you by extending your networks, we'd be glad to do that. So I'm going to hand over now to Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. And seamlessly, I popped the slide up when Heather was talking there. Thank you, Lochaber Chamber of Commerce. We're absolutely delighted to be involved in the creation and to support this exciting new event, knowing how important aquaculture is to the region, having worked in the industry for many years and now living and based in Fort William. So yes, I'm pleased to be here, the Director of Business Engagement for SAIC, and I'd like to share with you a little bit more about the consortium. I'm just moving on. Okay, so the SAIC consortium, and explain a little bit of the benefits of being part of this extensive network. A little bit of a seamless overlap with Heather and I as well. So aligning those core functions as Heather described, the slide shows and gives a real flavour of the diversity and the width of our evolving consortia. 166 to date, I believe. Apologies if we're slightly out of date with this slide, but I wanted to give you, to the right, you've got the stakeholders, Marine Scotland, Scottish Salmon Producers Organisation, British Trout Association, and Shellfish Association. In the middle, a rather large cross-value chain industry section from our farmers, trout, salmon, mussels, oysters, feed companies, genetics companies, equipment and tech provider, service providers, many of which you'll hear from today, seafood processing and UK retail. Then to the left, we have our academics. Over 16 universities from University of Highlands and Islands, Edinburgh, St Andrews, University of West of Scotland, to name but a few, with a wonderful range and depth of capability. So SAIC are proud to be that connecting point, driving, sharing and nurturing, you'll hear that a few times between the two of us, and building projects teams to drive valuable, innovative projects for the sector. This is my area of function within the team. So successful innovation is rarely done alone. It's driven through a collaboration of knowledge and experience. And these vary across the projects we support directly and co-support, from 3 partners to over 12 partners within complex projects, ranging from 12 months to potentially 3 years plus. To apply for SAIC funding, you must be a member of the consortium. And at the moment, we currently have a rapid response funding call open, details of which are on our website. So now to give a little more detail of the importance of the consortia and applicability to SAIC's role in the Scottish aquaculture sector. As Heather says, we connect industry with academia to encourage collaboration on priority areas, share insights and knowledge gleaned within the wider sector, attracting additional UK and EU funding into the Scottish aquaculture sector as well. Encourage new generations into the sector and develop those already working within it. Again, you'll hear more from Tracy, and Mary and Jenny will talk about skills in aquaculture and attracting talent and upskilling the existing workforce. But all of these focus around the SAIC's innovation programme, delivered through the key 3 work streams: driving innovation, sharing innovation, and nurturing innovation. Each project we undertake addresses one of our key innovation areas, or as we call them, PIAs. And these have been based on industry consultation. The focus is on the 3 to support Scotland's aquaculture sector. Firstly, we've got finfish health, welfare and management of environmental impacts. I know we have Meritxell from MOWI today. She'll talk lots about those projects for us involved. To give you a flavour: cleaner fish, genetics, gill health and sea lice solutions. Secondly, we've got unlocking additional capacities. Projects there involved innovating new modelling systems, looking also at alternate proteins, seabed monitoring, just trying to give you a flavour without going too, there's lots going on. And last but not least, we have projects relating to shellfish and other non-fin fish species. The overarching aim of each, however, is the same: to deliver a tangible benefit to the sector and in turn Scotland, whether that's enhanced fish welfare, increased capacity for producers, highly skilled new recruits, or fresh revenue streams. Our ultimate ambition is for Scottish aquaculture to be stable, well-regulated, animal-friendly, and scientifically robust. That is the benefit of the Scottish economy and its local communities alike. So Team SAIC work proactively with this growing consortium through the project team engagement, skills development, regular newsletters targeting relevant information sharing, social media updates, events, and are developing a further conversation across the network with showcase, potential lunch and learn sessions as well. So we'd welcome hearing from you, as Heather says, and look forward to aiding further an innovative, bright blue future.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And a special thanks to Sarah for all her help and advice along the way in making today happen. Next up, we've got Tavish Scott, who's the CEO at SSPO. Tavish is going to talk to us today about the economic benefits of aquaculture to the West Highlands and introducing the Scottish Salmon's new sustainable charter.
Here in Scotland, our salmon farming sector leads the world in responsible food production. Carefully farmed in the coastal waters of the Highlands and Islands, salmon is our country's #1 food export. And like every other farmer in Scotland, it's not just a business to me. I'm dedicated to caring for my fish to the highest standards. I'm proud to be a Scottish salmon farmer.
Good morning. Good to see you, Fraser. Good morning, everybody. Great pleasure to join you. I'm like Heather. I'd much rather be in Lochaber. I'd much rather be in the fort and meeting in person, but that's not the world we currently live in. Although there is hope that 2021 might return us to some degree of normality. It's been a few months since I've been in Fort William, but I am acutely conscious as an islander how important the fish farm sector is to the West Highlands and to Scotland as a whole. And I just want this morning to introduce our Scottish Salmon Sustainability Charter, which is a piece of work that our sector's done in conjunction with many stakeholders, including Heather's organisation, including many people who are on this webinar today. And I'd like to thank you in advance for all that work, because what we've done is to seek to address what is a central challenge for us all. How do we play our role in tackling the great challenges of our time, in other words, climate change and biodiversity, while at the same time producing healthy, sustainable food for the marketplace, given the growth in the world's population and given the demand, you could argue, the moral and legal requirement placed on us to produce food for that, for the world around us. So that's at the heart of our sustainability chart. And Ailey, if you could just run the slides, that would just be super. The central message of the sustainability charter is that Scotland's fish farming sector wants to be net zero in greenhouse gas emissions before 2045, and the basis for that is very simple. It's the requirement upon us to meet these big international obligations, recognizing our role in terms of the environment and the marine environment in particular, and also recognizing a figure the United Nations produced the other day, which is that somewhere between 43 and 57% of the human-sourced greenhouse gas emissions in the world today are caused by food systems. So we need to all recognise that and therefore address it, and that's what we're going to do through our charter. If I could just move to the 5 key pledges within that, while I won't go through them, they simply set out the broad brush of what we are seeking to achieve. We've done this very clearly to make sure that people understand that we start with and are incredibly focused, as our member companies are, on the highest standards of animal welfare in looking after our fish and working to minimise our impact and to ensure that that marine environment that we so obviously depend on is recognised in everything that we do. If we can then just move on past our pledges to some of the detail, I could take you through all of it, but we don't have the time for it this morning, and nor is this the appropriate occasion. But what I did want to do was concentrate on why our sector must be good neighbours in every way. This is one of the areas of work that we're going to take forward in the coming year. And in particular, a couple of points here that I thought might be of interest to this audience. The first is that we want to establish a structured community funding model. I'm acutely aware, as someone who's involved in and around the sector for the last 25 years or so, how much good our member companies do in the different parts of Scotland where they're based, whether it be helping with play parks or sponsoring local sports teams, or just through the employment they bring to each part of Scotland, particularly the West Coast, the Western and Northern Isles. But we wanted to go further than that. We want to look at this community funding model, whereby we put back into the community and find the right model to do that, money that can be invested by local people in the things that matter to them. I take it back to the days when I was growing up in Shetland, when oil arrived, and in the mid-1970s, some of our very well thought through forefathers thought of how to take money out of the oil industry to put into the local community, recognizing that there was going to be a big inevitable impact of having the oil and gas industry located in Shetland. That was very successful. It meant an oil fund that was set up, and money that went into everything from providing leisure facilities to, frankly, new roads and other things that just simply wouldn't have happened. Now, it's the same principle. The model will, of course, be different, but I hope there's something in there that people on this call this morning would look to support, and more to the point, see that we are incredibly committed to making that happen. The other one I just wanted to mention off this list, Fraser, is the bottom one, which is creating a visitor experience centre that tells the story of Scottish salmon. I believe we've got a fantastic story to tell. I believe that most people are very open and willing to learn about all that is around the Scottish salmon sector. And I take immense heart from some recent work we've been doing with the DC Thomson newspaper and media group, who have, in conjunction with our farms and our people, looked at the real experiences of people who work across the sector, and the response to that has been overwhelmingly positive. I think we need to do more of that, and one of the ideas we've got is to create this centre which tells the story, and we're better to have the story told than in Fort William, although you'll understand that I'll adjust that line according to wherever I'm giving these remarks, and please don't tell anyone in Shetland I've just said bring it to Fort William. But the serious point is that we need to tell the story, and because it's such a super important one for Scotland, I think we need to reflect on the fact that salmon and fish farming is the #1 food export from the country, and that's a very positive story to get across. The other two slides I want to just bring to your attention this morning. The next one just goes into how important we are economically to the West Highlands and to Scotland as a whole. And possibly, in addition to the obvious point about local people employed in the Lochaber area and the average salary, which is, I think it'd be fair to say, in excess of any other sector in the rural economy. And certainly as a Shetlander, I know the impact of oil and gas, but I also know what that meant and how important it still was that we had that diversified economy there. And for example, on the map to the right that you can see, the two most northerly isles, Unst and Yell, there wouldn't be many people living in those isles were it not for the importance of aquaculture and the fish farms in that area. That's simply, to me, how important our sector is. But maybe one other important statistic of this sheet, and that is that the number of companies working across Scotland that support the salmon sector, the fish farm sector, are enormous. We had some numbers pulled together for an appearance in front of a parliamentary committee last week, and I was quite taken aback that 3,600 separate businesses, and to Heather's point, they are large and small. They're right down to the micro businesses, all the way up to the Gale forces and others who are very heavily involved in the sector. They exist in every single part of Scotland, and that's why our sector is so important for the wider economy. There's not one, if I may put it in this sense, there's not one parliamentary constituency in Scotland that doesn't have salmon companies involved and support and value sectors involved in that area, and that's a tremendously positive argument when we speak to government, when we speak to the agencies of government, and when we make the case as to why our sector can be a great driver for growth out of the COVID-19 period we're in, and indeed whatever happens with Brexit and whatever comes at us all at this time. The final slide I wanted to bring to your attention this morning is simply this one about the West Highlands and its importance. I rather guess that picture wasn't taken today, although it's vaguely sunny in Edinburgh. I don't know what it's like with you, Fraser, but the important point here again is the value to the Lochaber area, to the West Highlands area by our sector. I'm very proud of that. I think Scotland should be very proud of that. There would be many small schools and many other areas of, I suspect, the West Highlands where those schools wouldn't have so many pupils were it not for the importance of our sector. And that is a point we obviously make very consistently, not just to local MPs and MSPs who always do get that point and are appreciative of it, but more so to the wider Parliament, both in Edinburgh and in London, about the importance of our sector. I don't think we can do enough to keep stressing these points. What would replace the jobs that we bring were it not for the fish farming sector? So with those few remarks, Fraser, I'm very happy to join the questions later on. But if people would need to look further into our sustainability charter, it's available on the SSPO website. And if people have any detailed questions about it, I'd be more than happy to make sure that if I can't answer them, we'll get some answers to you later on. Thank you very much for your attention this morning.
Thank you very much, Tavish. And I have written on my notes here at 10:52 on the 26th, you mentioned building a visitor centre in Fort William. So.
I know that'll come back to haunt me, but there we are.
No, what a great presentation. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Meritxell Padrisa. who is the production director at MOWI Scotland, and she's going to talk to us about the advances in fish health, diagnosis and treatment. And we also have Donald Waring from MOWI, who will be here for questions and answers at the end, if anybody would like questions. And we'll try and save the questions to the end. Over to you, Meritxell.
Hi, hello. Yeah, thanks a lot for having me today. As Fraser said, I'm the production director here at MOWI Scotland. My background is in veterinary medicine, so I have been working in fish health for quite a few years now, and is that I will try to give a flavor today for what we do at MOWI and how we look after our fish. So I hope you are able to see my presentation. So yes, so is it, are you seeing it correctly, Fraser?
Yes, it's perfect, thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So basically, who are we? Who is MOWI? So as you know, we are the world largest producer of Atlantic salmon. Here in Scotland, we currently produce about 60 tons of Atlantic salmon a year, and that represents between 18 and 20 million smolts that we put to sea on an annual basis. Here in Scotland, we employ around 1,500 people across the country. This involves our operations here in Lochaber, but also across the Highlands and down in the Central Belt. In Scotland, MOWI's operations are quite diverse. We have farming sites in freshwater. That includes 2 recirculation systems, 1 flow-through facility up north in Ullapool, and then 5 locks that are all around the Fort William area, and 1 a little bit further up in Loch Ness. We also have farming sites in seawater, and that includes 39 active sites at the moment and 1 feed trial unit up in Lochaber, in Arnish. We also have 1 harvest station, which is situated in Malik, and 2 processing plants. The one here in Fort William, that it's primary processing, and then added value products down in Rosyth, close to Edinburgh. We also have 2 offices, the one that you probably know here in Fort William, and then another one down in Edinburgh. As Tavish has mentioned, aquaculture nowadays has great potential. I think that it's probably fair to say that it's the farming of the future. So here I wanted to show you a few graphs of why here in MOWI we feel that we need to unlock the potential of the sea, and that we have a big play to roll going forward in terms of like feeding the world and providing like healthy food for everybody. So the graph here shows you how population is growing, so quite an exponential growth, increasing like in the next coming years. And here this graph shows how the wild catches have evolved in relation to aquaculture. And you can see that there is great potential for the aquaculture sector. Also worth to mention, but I will not go into too much depth on it because Tavish already talked about it in length, is how sustainable protein coming for fish is in comparison to protein coming from other animals. And that makes, like aquaculture in general, not just salmon, very attractive in the years going forward, especially with climate change and the environmental challenge that we are facing. Sorry, I'm moving too fast. So now I will start with the main topic for my presentation today, which is fish health and fish welfare. So here at MOWI, we believe that fish health and welfare are paramount and are our number one priority. Basically, we believe that if our fish are healthy, obviously they are going to grow better and they are going to give us like a better output, both in terms of performance, but also in terms of, like keeping everything fine and good in relation to the environment. For us, safeguarding the welfare of our stock is an ethical responsibility. Obviously we are in care of our fish and we need to make sure that they stay healthy. And then it's an integral part of our business strategies, as it can obviously impact our productivity and reputation. How we make sure that we maintain good fish health and good fish welfare standards. Basically, we invest significantly in training our employees. We try to farm under environmental optimal conditions. We always secure optimal health of our stocks, and if needed, we provide them with the necessary veterinary treatment. We apply optimal feed, and we also make sure that our feeding practices are the best we can give to our fish. We are also very vigilant in terms of fish behavior and how the animals are performing. We are following very strict internal quality standards, but also global fish welfare standards. And then we ensure that the service and equipment that we receive from suppliers adapts to our standards. So we make sure that everybody that interacts with our fish follow as strict standards as we follow. And then we monitor and we report operational welfare indicators on a routine basis. In Scotland, MOWI has a dedicated team of veterinarians and biologists who look after the health of our fish. The approach that these teams follow when looking at fish health is the same as you would use for any other livestock. The only challenge is that obviously fish are underwater. That makes it a bit more tricky to access them, and means that sometimes, as practitioners, we need to be a bit more creative on how we observe fish behavior, how we look after them, and how we access them, like to take samples and so on. Our stock management is based on robust biosecurity. Here you can see some graphs showing you how we understand biosecurity, and is like the classical concept that it's follow for other livestock, that it's like, okay, you view biosecurity as concentric circles, like around your farm, and you need to protect your animals and, make sure that you put the right barriers in place to keep them safe and keep them disease-free. We also use solid veterinary plans for each site. So these are live documents that we update monthly and that we review on a yearly basis. So the manager and the site staff keeps updating these documents regularly, but then on a yearly basis, we will sit down and we would review the whole veterinary process. We also make sure that all sites are visited by health specialists, and this happens every 15 days for every site. So the fish are followed by health professionals very closely. And then we have a robust program of disease surveillance and monitoring. And this is an important point because over the years, there has been great advances in this area. And nowadays we have much more tools than what we used in the past to make sure that our fish are healthy. So I have mentioned some of them here. It's not an exhaustive list, but I would say that the tools that we use more routinely are PCR. So that would be the same as you get nowadays if you have COVID. That's what they would do. They would do a PCR on you in most occasions. So we can also do PCRs on our fish for several problems. We also regularly take blood samples from the fish in the same way as when we go to the doctor and the doctor takes blood from us to make sure that we are healthy. We do the same with the fish. We also take bacteriology samples in case, if we suspect there might be a bacterial problem going on. We also use basic microscopy, light microscopy, to look for some parasites or any kind of problems. So that's an easy tool that it's used on a regular basis on site. We also use histopathology. Here you can see some images from histopathology, and this would be looking at the fish tissues. So that's another good tool that we have. And then something that is key for us is monitoring some important parameters. This would be for example, appetite checks, water quality samples. So for example, here you see a graph showing oxygen levels in one of our sites at different depths and in different locations within the cage. And this is a live monitoring. So you would see this 24 hours a day, and you would have alarms that would raise if things go go out of normal. So these are very powerful tools. We also make sure that we monitor plankton levels, especially during summer and autumn, that are the peak seasons for plankton problems. And here you can see we use different tools. We use like the traditional light microscopy, taking water samples and looking them in this little draft or counting cells that are in the picture. But we also use more advanced tools like satellite imaging, which helps us see where the blooms are and be able to put mitigation measures in place. And we also make sure that we carefully monitor the mortality levels, and if there are any worrying changes in trends, then we can intervene and we can make sure of like knowing what's going on and put in place measures. Finally, so another important aspect for us is making sure that we use as many preventive tools as possible. Nowadays, our stocks are vaccinated 100%. We currently vaccinate all our stocks against 7 different diseases, and some of them against 8 diseases. So as you can see, it's quite a robust vaccination plan that they receive to make sure that we keep them healthy when they are in the sea. And then when it comes to sea lice and parasitic problems, we use an integrated pest management strategy. And this includes the use of biological tools such as cleaner fish. So these are mainly lamb suckers and wrasse, as you see in these pictures, which we farm ourselves. And we use them to remove sea lice from the salmon. So that's a very nice and easy way to keep the salmon clean. We also use technology such as the diagram here that shows like a tube net. That is a new technology that basically keeps the fish down in the water column, so they are less accessible for sea lice, which usually sits around the top layers of the seawater. Then we also use like mechanical delousing tools. And then in final place, if we have exhausted all the other resources, then we would use medicines. The graph here, I thought that it was good to put it on because it illustrates how the use of different tools have evolved against sea lice. So basically, you can see that the use of oral medicines in the last few years have very significantly decreased in the same way as the use of peroxide. And instead, topical products have remained stable, I would say. And then you can see that clearly treating with mechanical tools has definitely increased over the past few years. So I think that that's a very positive trend that we are seeing here. And I think that brings me to the end of my presentation. I will be happy to take questions later on. Obviously, there is much more in fish health than just this, but yeah, the time is limited, so I'll keep it at that for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Meritxell. That was excellent. Thank you. We're now going to I'd now like to introduce Graham Smith, who's the General Manager at SAIC. SAIC is a global aquaculture supplier, but the key objective is to have local presence with strong partnerships within the industry.
Thanks, Fraser. Thank you. Thank you, Fraser. And thank you for inviting me and allowing Scale to present herself today at this event. This is a great opportunity for us. I'm new to the company. I took over the management of the company in Scotland just in July this year after 16 years of with Scottish Sea Farms. Okay, Fraser, next slide, please. So Scale, basically, Scale is part of the Caverva group of companies. Most of you will probably know that SalMar. So SalMar is 52% owned by Caverva, and as everybody knows, or most people know, SalMar is also 50% ownership of Scottish Sea Farms. So we're part of Scale is part of a big organisation globally, as Fraser said, but also sort of tying into technology. We're part of the technology part of Caverva. Then there's the seafood value added products, and then there's the marine raw materials, which is Pelagia. And probably most people will know that, or some people may know that Pelagia have a presence in Scotland as well. They have a presence in Shetland, with their operation up there, and they have a presence down in Inverclyde. So you can see that we are part of a fairly large organisation. Next slide, please, Fraser. Yeah, as I say, we are, as you mentioned right at the start, Fraser, we are a global company. We have 815 employees globally, so that's a significant amount of people involved in the business. We have a turnover of 2.5 billion Norwegian krone, and we have 25 offices in 9 countries. So we truly are spread widely across the world. Norway's our area where we have most people employed, all the way from the south of Norway all the way to the top. So if you move to the next slide, please, Fraser. This really illustrates how far we are spread. We're spread from, you'll see Chile down in the south there, to all the way to the north of Norway. And we also have in Vietnam, we actually, that's where we develop a lot of our software and cameras and feed sensors and environmental sensor systems. So yeah, you can see we're spread across all the way from the north of Norway across into Canada, down into Spain. We even go as far down as Tasmania, down in the south there. So we are really truly a global company. In Scotland, we have 14 employees. Sorry, we actually have 15. We have 14 full time and 1 part time. So we're based in Scotland. We're based in between Fort William and Shetland. We have an office in Shetland as well. Next slide, please, Fraser. So yeah, so we go just covering a bit about Scale EQ in Scotland and the UK. So say we have 14 full-time employees and 1 part-time. They range from mostly technicians, but we also have HR, admin, and finance within that group of people as well. We're working with all farming companies in Scotland and in Ireland. Ireland for us has been quite small, but it's one area that I'm trying to grow, and I hope through time that we will actually introduce an office and some people in Ireland as we grow. So Scotland's very important to us, but equally Ireland is as well. So we have technicians on call 7 days a week. So if a thermalizer goes down or a feed system goes down, we can react to that. And for me, and being a fish farmer, I know the importance of fish not being fed for a day or a couple of days, and I know the importance of a thermalizer system being broken down. So it's really vital that we can react to the needs and the demands of the farmer at all times. So we have a 7 day a week. We have guys on call at weekends, and we can react to most events at short notice. We have a strong R&D department and a technical department in Norway, so we can tap into that knowledge, and they will help us develop new products and bring new products to the market. So if a client comes forward, for example, and has a particular need and wants to design something for themselves or a particular application they want to look at, then we can bring our R&D and technical department in to help support that activity. For me, the focus is to very much to grow the company in Scotland and across the UK, and certainly, as I said earlier, Ireland is also an important part. So there's opportunities, and we want to continue to grow and be part of a growing industry. And it was pleasing to hear earlier that Tavish raised the point about opening a visitor centre, something I think the industry in Scotland greatly needs. And it can then demonstrate to the wider public what Scotland can deliver in terms of salmon production. And I think for us, it's we want to be a key player. We'd like to be a key player in the development of the sector as it goes forward, particularly as we move into more exposed locations with our barges, cages, nets and moorings. We've been working on many concepts to try and take the industry further offshore. One of the things that I kind of raised when I came into the business is that we need to establish a stronger support for our mooring activity in Scotland. We've sold some moorings, so in Q1 next year, we hopefully open a mooring distribution warehouse in central Scotland. Next slide, please, Fraser. Yeah, so our company stretches over a lifespan of 40 years, so that gives us a huge amount of experience, and I think from that, moving on to the next slide, please, Fraser. Yeah, so in 1980 we launched our first cage. Some key milestones here and some messages. In 1980 we launched the first cage, and in 2009 we developed the first thermalizer system, which by next year I think we will have 7 active thermalizer systems working in Scotland. So that's a huge milestone for us and a huge benefit to the Scottish industry. So we will be at hand to support these systems as they come into operation next year. And in 2019, we bought over Mon Marine, which is a workboat company that build fish farm service workboats. So again, that's another milestone over the period of the 40 years of ownership. So you can see from this slide that we really do cover everything from cages, cameras, thermal icing systems, RAS facilities for smoke production, all the way through. It's a wide portfolio we have. Next slide, please, Fraser. Yeah, this is just illustrating again, just emphasising we truly do deliver a complete value chain, all the way through from sea-based through to land-based software, and obviously most importantly is we have to have service to back up all our products, and that's really important to us, making sure we have the right level of service, the right competence in our business to support our products once they go out into the market for ongoing service and repair. Next slide, please, Fraser. Some couple of turnkey slides here. These are just a couple of examples of what we've done. We worked very closely over the last year with Cermaq in Norway to develop the iFarm, and the iFarm uses artificial intelligence to determine fish health and welfare and the overall health and condition of the fish. So this helps the farmer make informed production decisions. So that's one key project that we've been working on, and we hope to develop that further with Cermaq. Another one locally here in Scotland is last year we entered into an agreement with Scottish Sea Farms to deliver a complete turnkey package for a new farm in Orkney, and this was everything from moorings, cages, barge, cameras, environmental monitoring, and a site boat. So that was the first turnkey package we supplied. So this is the barge that was supplied to Scottish Sea Farms in Hunter, and I believe the farm is now stocked. I visited the farm not long after I started to look at the barge and the cages just to catch up with the guys, and get the feedback was really positive. So we supplied that in April. It came into the country in April, and as I say, the farm is now stocked with fish. So that was an example of one of our turnkey packages. Next slide, please, Fraser. Yeah, we just quickly skip through this one. This is just we emphasising we want to really be a partner with fish farmer through our consultancy environment and advisory, our marine engineering, project management, logistics, assembly and installation, and more importantly, it's not about knowledge transfer and helping the farmer get the right solution. Thank you. Next slide, please. Yeah, this just emphasises the same thing, so we can skip to the next one, please, Fraser. Yeah, this is just showing us basically that we work all the way through with our engineering teams to define and scope out when we're building a new farm. So we have project management, we have mooring analysis, cage analysis, we can carry out testing anchors, just the holding grip of anchors, and we also have a flume tank that we work very closely with, and this is for research and development to make sure that the cages, the nets, the moorings we build are fit for purpose, and most importantly, they keep the fish in the cage and we minimise any escapes. So we have a strong R&D and engineering department that we can work with the farmer to design particular areas, locations. We can design and bespoke everything to make sure that it meets the farmer's needs in that particular location. Next slide, please, Fraser. Yeah, we work to the Norwegian governing standard, NS 945, and that's a standard which has been in Norway for many years, and is driven by the Norwegian authorities. And in fact, the new Scottish technical standard that's been developed at the moment is basically has evolved from the Norwegian NS 9415 standard. So we work very closely, and our technical director actually sits on this and works very closely with this body in Norway to ensure that we're part of that and getting the right message across and making sure our products are meeting the standard at all times. Next slide, please, Fraser. Yeah, this is just a quick slide showing one of our land-based. So what we do in the sea with our turnkey projects, we pretty much can do exactly the same on land. And just recently, we've actually just finished a couple of smoked facilities up in the north of Norway. So this just emphasises that we truly are a one-stop shop for everything, including land-based as well. Next slide, please, Fraser. Yeah, again, this is just sort of emphasising that we take the full responsibility with everything with the company, all the way when we're working on the turnkey projects, through mooring analysis, nets, cages, barges, just to make sure everything works in harmony and we actually do deliver exactly what the farmer needs. Next slide, Fraser, please. Yeah, this just, I guess, just emphasises again some of the things how everything connects, how all our systems connect together. We can have remote links back to centralised feeding offices. We can have our boats can tie into servicing farms. We can have barges on the farms, cages, lights, sensors. So this covers this demonstrates everything we can do all the way through from small production all the way through to final grow out stages. Next slide, Fraser. Yeah, this is just a quick slide showing a very typical feed monitoring room. These are becoming much more common across the industry now, where rather than sitting on a barge, where people will feed and monitor stock from one central location. This is one of our places in Norway we set up for a client, and this shows the level of technology that's now used in the industry to monitor and maintain fish health and welfare. So nothing goes missed. This is a high-end, high-technology, very advanced feeding station.
Thank you very much for that, Graham. Very informative. Next up, we have Greg Riddle from Northern Light Consulting. Greg's going to talk about delivering innovation to support sustainable growth in aquaculture. Over to you, Greg.
Thank you very much, Fraser. I'm hoping everyone can hear me and see the right presentation up on the screen. I'm here partly to introduce our business and also to talk about innovation in the sector. So we are Northern Light Consulting. We were established in 2013, based in Fort William since 2017, and with an office in Larmore Industrial Estate. We've grown our company year on year, still quite small, team of 4. Our core business is project management for engineering and construction works, business strategy and innovation. And our work is focused on the aquaculture industry and the wider blue economy. We have a diverse team with different skills and experience. The photos on the screen just now are from the recent campaign, No Wrong Path, by Developing the Young Workforce. The logos at the bottom are some of our previous employers. So on the left, we have Shona McClay. She's a chartered civil engineer who started work as a site engineer for a contractor building a new harbour up in Orkney. She was then a civil engineer for Orkney and Murray councils on marine, flood protection and structural design work before joining a large international consulting engineer. On the right, we have Mary, who has a degree in business and marketing. And before joining us, she was with Ferguson Transport, local business, large local business, who are very much part of the aquaculture supply chain. Not pictured is Sarah, who has a degree in science and management, and she started her working life as a sales rep for a concrete supplier before moving on to Mars Confectionery, Coca-Cola, and a large wholesaler supplying the hospitality industry. In 2007, I think she joined the dark side, first of all with Marine Harvest, as it was known back in the day, starting the same day as Mr. Ben Hadfield, and then Scottish Sea Farms, and then moving on to Aquascot Processor based in Alness. My background is in construction management with various civil engineering contractors, including Morrison Construction and Balfour Beatty, and a lot of my experience has been around building waste and water treatment works before moving on into business development and tendering for contracts. So you might ask, how did we get here, living in the West Highlands and working in the environment that we do? The answer is the aquaculture industry. That's what's brought us here. We have transferable skills which can benefit the industry as it grows and matures. By combining our skills and experience, we can provide a service to the full value chain: suppliers, producers, processors, and retailers. And the organizations we work with range from micro enterprises and startups to large multinationals, and also industry bodies, academic institutions, and third sector organizations. Our work is highly varied. Recently, I was on a site to discuss some work to upgrade a process, whilst at the same time, another member of the team was auditing the same site for a major retailer. Or quickly swapping hats from buying to selling. We are agile and flexible. What we do is built on industry knowledge, integrity, and a passion to drive the sector forward, with innovation at the core. Some of the speakers later on will be talking about skills, attracting talent, what it's like to work in the sector, and the range of careers available. What we have found, and the message we should be sending potential recruits, is this: aquaculture is still a relatively young industry with huge growth potential. As the industry grows, there will be new investment, new developments, and new challenges to solve, whilst driving increased sustainability and corporate social responsibility. Aquaculture is an exciting place to work. There are limitless opportunities to innovate and to make a difference doing something you believe in. To briefly introduce a couple of our projects, I'm going to start with Corpic Marina. It's a £3.3 million project which started on site in June 2020. You may have noticed it's not an aquaculture project, but it's still very much related to the blue economy, and it's getting built just along the road from here at the end of the Caledonian Canal. Our client is a community regeneration company who are building it. The intention is to provide safe access to the sea, something which is lacking at the moment from the outdoor capital of the UK, in order to regenerate the area and create new jobs. The works include marine and civil engineering works to construct a new car park and slipway, building works for a new facilities building, including cafe and visitor centre, and the installation of breakwaters and pontoons to provide 45 berths. And our work has included raising grant funding to build the project, 2.3 million to date, engaging with stakeholders and securing support, outline design of the civil engineering and building works, securing licenses and consents, managing the contracts, reporting progress and costs, pretty much everything to keep the thing running smoothly. The second project example we've chosen to show you is Barcaldine Freshwater Hatchery. This is a £50 million project for Scottish Sea Farms, which is the largest aquaculture facility in the UK, producing around 1,600 tonnes of smolt annually. The building has an 18,000 metre footprint, which includes offices, labs, and on-call accommodation. And the production is split into 12 departments, individual biosecure units, each with their own dedicated water treatment plant. 12,000 cubic metres of water in the tanks is recirculated at least twice every hour, with recycling and reuse of around 99% of the water used in the process. And the fish spend 8 to 10 weeks in each department before moving into progressively larger tanks. The water supply comes from a private reservoir with a total capacity of just over 100,000 megalitres, which is filtered and usually treated before use. And the effluent is treated by filtration to remove particles and suspended solids, and the sludge from the filters thickened to 15% dry solids prior to disposal off-site. The site also uses highly efficient water source heat pumps for heating and cooling of processed water, and includes automated feeding systems, grading and vaccination equipment. So we started work on the project in November 2013, delivering feasibility studies, budget costs, and outline concept design. Site selection commenced in January 2015 with over 44 potential locations evaluated, and in 2016 we issued the first tender documents, appointing the aquaculture designer and lead consultant in the autumn. Demolition and enabling works on site commenced in January 2017, and the main contractor Robertson Construction, also from Fort William office, started work in August 2017, with Bill and Aquaculture of Denmark undertaking the process design and installation. So during the design and construction phases, we've been responsible for project management, design liaison, site supervision, and contract administration, including the procurement and management of up to 20 specialist contractors appointed directly by the client. It was an interesting and challenging project with an extremely tight program, and the design process still in progress through the majority of the construction phase. Innovative design features have been incorporated throughout. This is the most technically complex and advanced facility in the UK. The first intake of eggs was in November 2018, whilst construction was still ongoing at the other end of the building. So, failing to commission each department on time was not an option, and the facility was completed in December 2019, with the first smolt output the same month. I'm going to move on now to talking about some of the work we do in the innovation space, and I'd like to introduce one of my colleagues, Mari, to talk briefly about our work with the technology company R3 IoT on their connected fish farm. And I'm really hoping the video is going to play properly, so here goes.
Another company we work with within the R&D and innovation sector is R3 IoT. R3 offers dependable connectivity, giving businesses the information they need to make more informed decisions. By using cutting-edge satellite technologies, they enable the secure transmission of continuous sensor data from farms located anywhere on Earth back to private clouds, where companies can then access this data collected from their farm. This data could include oxygen, temperature, current, salinity, algae, phosphorus, nitrates from each individual pen, which could then be collected and communicated via the R3 gateway and cloud system. Northern Light have been providing innovation support and acting as aquaculture advisors for R3 for the past year, supporting them following their first deployment at a Scottish farm. We have been working with them to clearly refine and define their technological and their commercial offering. We recently assisted them in a SIF-funded feasibility study to engage with stakeholders throughout the full value chain, from farmers to processors, NGOs to retailers themselves, to ensure that the product is providing a quality service and directly aligns with current challenges faced in the industry, in turn making the product commercially viable within the aquaculture sector. Having recently secured more funding, we will shortly commence the next stage of industry engagement, further developing growth.
Okay, thank you, Mari. Talk now about some other future innovations coming to the sector, which are currently being developed by local businesses based in the Highlands and Argyll. So on the left, we have Aqua Innovation Limited. We've been working with them for the last 2 years. They're a micro enterprise based in the Highlands who currently have a prototype waste capture system deployed on a fish farm and is successfully recovering waste feed and feces from the cage. We've delivered feasibility studies and business case. We've secured industry support, raised grant funding, and are developing the product design. The next step is to come up with the best way to treat the waste, ideally to create a product with value. And if we can reduce the waste from fish farming activities, this will allow sustainable growth in production. We've also just secured a grant from Seafood Innovation Fund for an R&D project to develop the SEACAP, a prototype closed contained fish farm using precast concrete elements for the structure. This will draw in water from over 20-metre depths and filter it to mitigate against challenges like sea lice and algae, improving fish health and growth. It will provide a more controlled environment for the production and capture all waste. On the right-hand side of the screen, we have the lysolator, and we've been working with Kermac Aquaculture for the last year to secure funding and industry support to develop the concept. The lysolator is an innovative and unique cone-shaped device 2.5 metres squared, 1.6 metres deep, that floats in a fish farm pen. The device attracts juvenile sea lice using a specially selected blue light and compressed air, and the lice are then captured in a reusable filter. It offers an effective, non-intrusive and easy-to-use solution to combat sea lice in marine aquaculture, which has been trialled on 2 farms and is proven to significantly reduce juvenile sea lice by up to 70% and break the life cycle. It also reduces plankton and algae, which impact on gill health. It provides a more sustainable alternative to existing lice treatment solutions, and we are currently seeking funding to build more devices for a full-scale trial deployment. To end this presentation, just by looking to the future, the Aquaculture 2030 strategy developed by a group of leading businesses and organisations in the sector identifies the potential to double the economic contribution of the industry to 3.6 billion by 2030, generating over 9,000 new jobs. Tavish Scott spoke earlier about the new SSPO Sustainability Charter, A Better Future for Us All, and the sector ambition to become world leaders in producing healthy food in the most responsible and sustainable way. These themes are echoed by the Global Salmon Initiative, Pathways to the Future, which says that whilst aquaculture is one of the most eco-efficient ways of producing protein, significant change is needed to ensure its sustainable future. From sharing best practice to finding new innovation, collaboration can help accelerate progress towards a more sustainable future for the whole industry. This event today, hosted by Lochaber Chamber, is all about collaboration, coming together as an industry, engaging with stakeholders, sharing information, and finding new innovations. At Northern Light, we believe that innovation is key to solving industry challenges and delivering sustainable growth. And we are in an ideal position to support this development. Thank you very much, Fraser. That's me.
Thank you very much, Greg. Again, very informative and great to get a further insight into the work that you're involved in and how far-reaching your business is. Next on, I'm going to move on to Jennifer Adamson. Jennifer's Policy and Partnerships Coordinator at Lantra, and she'll be accompanied by Mary Fraser, who's Head of Skills and Talent at SAIC, to talk about the skills in aquaculture, attracting talent and upskilling the existing workforce. Thank you.
Thanks, Fraser. Just going to share my slides just now. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you all, albeit virtually on this occasion. So just to give you just a wee bit about Lantra, we're a charity and we exist to ensure that the land-based and aquaculture sector can meet the skills needs. The sector has to have the right skills, but also have to have the right people. And we need to look at the promotion of upskilling the current employees, as well as opportunities for new entrants. So aquaculture needs a diverse range of skills, and that's practical, as well as understanding what aquaculture is and how it works. And engagement with industry can start at school. Just got a little slide here to show about the National Progression Awards in aquaculture, and that's very much about developing a candidate's interest in the sector. It's set at SCQF levels 4 and 5. There's 2 awards, and it's very much a very practical and vocational approach to delivery. Where possible, it is at aquaculture sites and aquaculture companies are involved. The level 4 introduces candidates to the local aquatic environments, and the level 5 just gives that little bit more of an insight into the industry, which enables candidates to confirm their interest in moving into the sector as a career or maybe as a pathway for future study. It also encourages the development of employability skills and core or meta skills, as it's now known. But I thought it was also important just to point out here about the foundation apprenticeships. As there's not a land-based or aquaculture foundation apprenticeship, but it's very much something that the companies are getting involved with the delivery of. I've put there 9 of the 12 current foundation apprenticeship frameworks that are available at SCQF level 6. And it's just to show how the industry can get involved and introduce the sector to new people who maybe haven't thought about, being an accountant, but in an aquaculture company. The point about the foundation apprenticeships is that they are the same level as a higher qualification and support to go forward to do a modern apprenticeship can be confirmed by doing the foundation apprenticeship. And just now, obviously, placements are quite hard to do because of the current restrictions, but industry can help by doing projects, setting projects for young people. They can also support with visits and talks, and they can be delivered virtually just now as well. I mean, obviously, aquaculture is set in beautiful areas of Scotland, and the people who work in it are passionate to the work and dedicated. And another way that we've promoted the industry to a different audience is ourselves and SAIC and WISA at the start of the year launched some videos, 7 videos called A New Wave of Talent. And it's very much about the promotion of the sector and actually showing people what the jobs are like. We've also got there about Aquaculture Prezi. The picture that's there is something that's on the Lantra website, and it's mapping jobs in the industry to the different areas or fields that people can work in, and just to show and highlight how many jobs that are available in the industry to new entrants. I've also popped there about the STEM Ambassadors programme. That's something that's, there's 3 different hubs in Scotland. And basically, it's a way of engaging with young people to show them the industry and the science, technology, engineering and maths opportunities that are there. And just last month, we started up as Lantra working with the STEM Ambassadors programme on an Aquaculture Ambassadors scheme. And that's people who are already aquaculture ambassadors are come under the aquaculture bracket, and we can then ensure that the aquaculture industry is being promoted to young people using that scheme. So this is just a wee slide to show about the training that then when you're in the industry that's available. I've highlighted the NPAs there, so you can see where they sit on the SEQF levels if you weren't aware of them. And then just to bring to your attention the modern apprenticeship and technical apprenticeships. So these are available for fin and shellfish farming, and it's to show that Lantra has worked very closely with the industry to ensure the qualifications meet the training needs. And for aquaculture especially, we found that the modern apprenticeship frameworks are used as a progression pathway for staff. The modern apprenticeships are available at NAFC UHI on Shetland, West Highland College and Argyll College. And also to show that the thing that's quite attractive about these qualifications is they're done while people are in work, while they're earning, while they learn, and they don't need to spend time off site. It's all done, the training and the assessment is done in their workplace. So it makes it quite attractive to employers as well. It's also worth noting that the technical apprenticeship sits at SEQF level 9, which is the equivalent of a degree. And also NAFC, I haven't popped on this diagram, but I will do in the future, the NAFC have actually put together a CPD course, which sits at SCQF level 8, and that is fully online, an aquaculture management course, very much with the emphasis being on the management of facilities, of people, and health and safety, as well as legislative requirements. It can be accessed worldwide and has been. There is also graduate apprenticeships, and that's when people gain a qualification with a university or college at degree or master's level while in the paid job as well. You're solving problems with real world projects. So projects can be set by with your employer, and you're putting your learning into practice straight away. And that's available in things like accountancy, business management, engineering, IT, for example. And, it's something that's, aquaculture is a growing sector, constantly investing in staff and providing opportunities for progression, as I'm sure Tracy will cover in the next presentation. I've also just popped here about upskilling staff. Practical skills are obviously making people more employable and given opportunity for professional development. Some here that I've mentioned are legislative and need to be completed prior to going out on a farm, but others exist to continually develop staff in areas such as fish health and welfare. A lot of the training can be accessed online and anytime with an internet enabled device, meaning that you know, there doesn't need to be a stop in delivery. Aquaculture didn't close during the COVID restrictions, and therefore access to training was really important that continued. And I've just pointed out there at the bottom that the Open University courses are online, are available as well through their free learning platform, Open Learn. Very much STEM, leadership and business courses. And the thing that's quite good about them is it's people can do these courses before they go on to becoming a formal student. So it's very much strengthening the journey between informal and formal learning. And if people then do want to go into a more formal course with Open University or any other establishment, they can do. Yeah, so I've just stopped sharing my screen and hand over to Mary.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. I'll just share my screen now. If I can get this to work. There we are. Okay, so we see that. Okay, I'll take it that you can see the slides. So yes, as Heather and Sarah have mentioned already about SAIC, I'm part of that, and thank you so much for inviting us today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the skills side of things within SAIC. So as an innovation centre, all the innovation centres have a skills section where we work with industry and supporting the people that are working within the sector. So we have a few things there that SAIC does within our Innovation Academy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the internships, the programmes we help support, the MSc programme, and a little bit about WISA. So the intern programme has been running for a few years now, and every summer for about 10-12 weeks we take on some interns that are usually life sciences students but can be from a variety of backgrounds. And usually they would be in the office with us, and this year we had to operate a distance internship. And we were delighted to take on 4 young people from Shetland, from the west of Scotland, the east of Scotland, from a variety of different backgrounds, and they were absolutely fantastic. And they all worked on specific projects. They produced some videos for us, looking at careers within the sector, careers within Shetland, careers in shellfish, a whole variety of different things, and they learned a lot about the industry as well. And other industries, Scottish Sea Farms, Scottish Salmon Company, and others also take on the interns. So it's something we like to do every year. We have our own leadership programme within SAIC. Again, this has been running for a few years now. It's an 18-month programme. We take on a variety of people from different backgrounds, different sizes of companies, very keen to work with the SMEs. And they go through their paces. Again, this year it's an online programme that they're following, but looking at a variety of different skills, working in business, leadership, communication, dealing with challenges, working well with people. The whole variety of different topics that they cover, and they go on to go further in their career, and we hope to support them through this. So again, if anybody's interested in that, then please just get in touch. There will be a new intake next year. So as an innovation centre, we work with Scottish Funding Council to support the Masters programme. We have 25 places from a variety of universities that you can see there on the screen. So we work with Heriot-Watt on their marine planning, work with Edinburgh, Dundee are an engineering background, Lewis Castle are a social science programme that they study. So it's a whole variety of different programmes. It doesn't need to have aquaculture in the title, but it needs to have some sort of impact and some sort of relationship to aquaculture. And I'm always looking for new programmes that we can be involved with. So again, if anybody knows of one that you think we should be working with, then please let me know. We work with PhD students, we support PhDs. So we're funding 4 PhD students at the moment across a variety of different programmes that you can see there. And there will be another PhD intake probably next year. So again, if you're interested in that, then please have a look on the SAIC website and get in touch. My favourite programme, the innovation programme. So we work with a company called Skillfluence who deliver an innovation programme for us. This can take different formats. This has taken a 6-week format in-house, or it can be online. And we set them challenges. So they come from a variety of different companies across the sector. They all work together, they're set practical challenges, and they have to come up with solutions. So it's a bit like a Dragon's Den type thing that we put them through. So it's very intensive, but they love it. It's hard work, but it's fun. And this is something that runs throughout the year at different times. And then finally, WISA. So Women in Scottish Aquaculture was set up nearly 2 years ago now. And we support women who are already working in the industry. We support women to come into the industry. We are not purely for women, we support men as well, but we run a whole variety of different programs, courses, networking events throughout the year. We have our own website, so if anybody is interested, then please have a look there. You can sign up for the newsletter, you can follow us on social media, and please come along and take part. So, and with that, I will hand back to Fraser. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move now to our last speaker of the day, which is Tracy Bryant-Shaw, Head of HR at Scottish Sea Farms. Tracy's going to talk to us what it's like to work in Scottish salmon farming, the positive difference the sector makes, the range of careers available, and the opportunities to develop and advance. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. I'm just going to try and find my presentation. Ailey, I don't seem to be able to get it up. I'm not sure if you can help me.
Yep, if you stop sharing your screen, Tracy, I can have a go for you.
Yep, thank you.
Give me 1 second.
Thanks, Ailey. I'm conscious that you've heard a lot of probably what I was going to say through my presentation, but hopefully I'm also conscious of time. So hopefully I can try and, I guess, wrap it up in terms of what everybody's been saying. You've heard about the different aspects of aquaculture, the pledges, its commitments to kind of local communities, health and people. I guess I just want to kind of bring it all together then and just talk about the sector's career and what's available.
Can you see that, Tracy?
I can, yes.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect.
Can you take me to slide 2, please, Ailey? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll very quickly talk you through why salmon farming is a great choice for a career and a bit about, I guess, who Scottish Sea Farms is. Next one, please. You've already heard about this kind of salmon and how sustainable it is and how we're working on that. It is a cold-blooded animal. It doesn't waste a lot of energy, and therefore it's really good at converting kind of feed into actual edible meat. They have a light skeletal structure, and therefore actually you do get more yield per feed, which in turn really has a lower carbon footprint. And you can see there how it compares to other farmed animals. Have my next slide, please, Ailey. Also, you've already heard as well about our rapidly growing population and with an increasing demand for high quality food, which salmon is. It is a protein low in saturated fat and a great source of omega-3. Government advice, as you all probably know, is that you should be eating kind of 2 portions of fish a week. One of those portions should be oily fish like salmon, and 1 portion of salmon equates to somebody having 17 omega-3 fish oil capsules. As you all know, it's kind of key for your health. So it is kind of a nutritious, as it says, a nutritious food.
Much cheaper than 1 slice of Scottish salmon. So let's go for the capsule.
Right, exactly. Thank you for whoever's talking there. Slide 5 then is we've already seen this from what Tavish has said in terms of the full sector. This is just Scottish Sea Farms in terms of the impact that has on the Scottish economy around jobs that you've seen as mentioned, and both directly and indirectly. And this is obviously, as we've already talked about, I think Greg talked about the 2030 growth plan. This is only going to kind of get bigger, not just for Scottish Sea Farms, but for the whole sector, both as a supply chain, but also as producers. Can I have the next slide, please, Ailey? Again, along with the other producers, I just really wanted to show the extent of where we're based. It's really important for people in these areas who are looking for a career specifically, that they have an opportunity to stay where they were brought up with their friends, with their families. And I guess that's what we're trying to do. The next slide, please, Billy. This really just shows in terms of the extent of not Scottish Sea Farms, but as the other producers will say, in terms of our reach of kind of where we export. 40 to 50% of kind of what we grow, it remains in the UK, with the rest of it being exported to over 24 countries. This is, as I've just mentioned, an ever increasing demand, both in the UK and abroad. And is salmon, I think, as Tavish has said, is Scotland's single largest food export. Have the next slide, please. Thank you. I think the most exciting bit for both Scottish Sea Farms and the sector is there is a wide range, I think, as Jenny spoke about, of roles. It's not just farming, it's a bit of everything that supports a business that you would normally find in a business at every level. Covering, we've certainly got over 50 different careers available. So, and that will be growing as we become more innovative. We need more things, we need bigger things, then those kind of roles, careers will grow. Slide 9, please, Hayley. I think certainly for Scottish Sea Farms, we work really hard at making careers, not jobs. We want to develop our people to be the best, and we have learning journeys as demonstrated there on that slide to support all areas of the business. And we work with local providers like Lantra and SAIC in supporting that. Slide 10, please, Hayley. You've heard from some of our partners, we are a professionally grown sector with support to develop it and its people. And so far, even just if we just talk about what Jenny was talking about, modern apprenticeships, we've had 85 of our employees go through a modern apprenticeship program through level 2 right the way through to level 4, which is degree level. Currently, we've got 45 on the program, and we've got 30 waiting to enroll. Some of those are with a relationship we've literally just taken off the ground, which is with Argyll College. We've been working with them for 18 months on how we can launch the modern apprenticeships within that area. So it's a really great result, both for us and for them. Slide 11, please, Hayley. Thank you. I guess a bit now is I'm going to blow my own trumpet. It's really important for Scottish Sea Farms, and I know for the rest of the sector, that we grow a business that cares about its fish, its people and its local communities, which has resulted in us gaining investors in people, investors in young people, and the Health and Wellbeing Award, all at the highest level. I think it shows that we're not all about the fish, we are very much about the people in our local areas, that we want to develop people, we want to look after people and their families, actually. So slide 12, please. And I guess it's just for me to say thank you for listening. That was a bit of a whirlwind because I'm conscious that we do want to do questions at the end. Thank you, Fraser.
Thank you very, very much to all the speakers today. Very positive input all around. I realise we've gone into that sort of 12:01, which is the sort of Zoom doom time, really. We've gone over time. One question that was submitted in advance of today, and maybe some that the speakers can come back to me in writing and we can put out with the sort of documents later, is that with the increasing development of land-based recirculating aquaculture systems to potentially produce salmon for harvest, particularly from the United States and China, does the Scottish salmon sector see this as a future threat, or is this an opportunity, and what do we think needs to be done? Does anybody want to try and answer that one before we finish up?
I can make a comment if you want.
Yes, please.
My name's Alan Tinch. I'm from Benchmark Genetics. I'm the technical director there. So I'll switch my video and then you can see me. That's more polite. Yeah, I think developments in recirculation technology are interesting from a global perspective. I think the major benefit in terms of production is the reduction in carbon miles in getting salmon to market. So that's why there's a lot of interest in countries which aren't traditional and conventional salmon farming companies. I think the technology may not find major application in Scotland, in terms of grow out, but it will find application and production of better quality smolts that are ready to go to seawater, and perhaps larger smolts that are more equipped to deal with seawater when they get into seawater. So I think we need to be conscious that there's an evolution in technology there. I think it's more an opportunity for countries that don't have a salmon farming industry, but from a people point of view, we have expertise. We have people that are good at fish farming. They understand the technologies involved, and we can become a center of excellence for those sorts of technology and transfer those skills elsewhere in the world. So I think it is something that will evolve, but perhaps not necessarily change the nature of the Scottish industry too much.
Alan, thank you very much for your answer. I'm going to pose one final question. I don't know who wants to pick up on this one. What do you think the main pinch points are achieving the exponential growth for the sector? So we've talked about improvements and we've talked about optimum process, but what are the pinch points as we go forward?
Fraser, could I pitch into that one?
Yes, please.
Firstly, can I just agree with Alan's remarks about the land-based systems? The other thing I think people should be aware of is what's going on globally in that there's a huge amount of private equity money looking at those kind of solutions, not in Scotland, as Alan rightly points out, but in other parts of the world. So I think we do need in Scotland to be alive to how that whole world is developing. On your question about pinch points, the one I would want to mention today, because it would be remiss of me not to, is that our sustainability charter goes hand in hand with our desire to see regulatory reform in Scotland. All our member companies point out the differences that they see around the world in other salmon producing nations. We don't argue for less regulation, quite the reverse. We just want better and more efficient regulation. And I think that is one of the pinch points that we have here in Scotland. That's not the case in some of our other competitor countries. And we just need to see a bit of progress on that to make not so much, it's not about cost, it's not about the amount of money in terms of fees or anything like that. It's much more about the time it takes to make sensible decisions. And given so many of the presentations this morning have touched on innovation, we need to see a lot more innovation in Scotland, in Scottish waters, and that would be enormously helped by a much smoother process of consents, because that would help both the member companies but also all the people you've had on this morning talking about innovation in coming up with new ideas which would help on fish health, which potentially help on the wider sustainability agenda. So that would be for me the one thing that we all need to see a bit of progress on. Thank you.
Thanks, Tavish. I'm just going to round off firstly by thanking all the speakers today. If the industry and all the business out there felt that as a whole this was something that they would like to explore more of in the future, of course, here at Lochaber Chamber, we would love to be involved in that, and we'd love to help facilitate that. I've noticed lots of good chat going on in the chat box, and I do apologise that we didn't get to all of the questions. We will make a recording of today's session and we'll distribute that to everyone who signed up through Eventbrite. Any businesses, of course, if you want to be part of Lochaber Chamber, we'd always be happy to hear from you and instruct you on how to best maximise your membership. But if anybody has any feedback, please email us through the chamber, just membership@lochaberchamber.co.uk, and we'll take that on board and we'll work with Sarah and Northern Lights and the Scottish Aquaculture Innovation Centre, and we'll hopefully bring one of these sessions again in the new year with the relevant topics that come out today. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank everyone again. Thanks for your time, and I think it's been a really great informative session. Thank you.